As soon as I see this, I think of my friend Chadwick Boseman. Whenever I see this, and forever remind me of him and the time we had a chance to finally work together. Hi, my name is Michael B. Jordan, and we're going to be playing back some clips that actually mean something to me. First, we have most recent movie, Sinners. There you go, boom. Oh man, this is a day. Yeah, Wumi was incredible. Pablo here. Yeah, that was a pretty emotional day. There's everything that Smoke had went throughout the movie. First time he smiled, throughout the film, and you kind of understood Smoke a little bit better in that moment, and why he was, I guess, fighting so hard to make sure people got home, and made it back. And yeah, that day was a particularly hot day. Ryan incorporated these pussy willows, those white, those seeds of this flower that we introduced at Annie's shop when Smoke and Annie first got reconnected, and they brought it back in this when they reconnected again. As Smoke was going towards losing his life a bit, and was wondering why it meant so much to him, so he can get back and actually be with his family again. And Smoke wasn't a spiritual person at all. He didn't really believe in all that stuff, but Annie did. So he believed it. He believed in her. These are characters that built, on the page by Ryan Coogler, and honestly wanted to just build them from the ground up. Like you said, their pain, their trauma, our childhood trauma shapes us to who we are today, and they had a lot of it, a shared one. And it was interesting to have two different perspectives of the same moment. They tell two different versions of what happened, most humans would do. I wore bigger shoes for Smoke because he didn't really move around too much. He was, I had him be grounded. I had smaller shoes for Stack because he was never sitting in one place. So he always felt like he had to move and kind of be, lighter on his feet. So just little things like that added to, how they held their body when they rested, their face, their cadence in their speech. Honestly, no real inspirations when it came to, what kind of vampire I was gonna be. Really wanted to be very specific to the world, we were creating down there, and tried really hard not to watch too many other things to influence what we were trying to make. This is a career-defining film. For me, it really, I think, shaped, my trajectory as a, quote-unquote leading man. Because up until that point, I had a lot of questions within myself as an actor of whether or not I could lead a film. This was my first opportunity at that. BAFTA Station, Fruitvale. Yeah. Melanie Diaz, she was phenomenal.
You three, to the wall. Get your hands out of your pockets.
You too, let's go.
Get your hands out of your pockets.
You too.
Against the wall. Get over there. To
We
the
ain't
wall.
doing nothing, man. What you talking about? Hey, Sexy, tell this group to calm the fuck down. Oh, wow.
Get down.
Come on, man. Like that?
Even real police, man. What you
Swear, if you ain't had that motherfucking badge, bruh, be on, straight up.
If you involved in the fight, get off the fucking train now. Don't make me come in there and pull you off.
Man, yeah, that takes me back. Very, very special, movie. First film that I got an opportunity to be the lead of. Playing a real person. That tragedy lost his life, and guy's life taken from him. And, shooting in Ryan's hometown and meeting Oscar Grant's, family, learning about Oscar through his family and his loved ones was very emotional and very, very, very intense in the best way, process for me. And that particular clip, was New Year's Eve, and we shot at the exact station platform that Oscar was killed at, down to the cement block where he actually lost his life, which was very heavy. But yeah, this project, for me really launched, me and Ryan's relationship, and yeah, Fruitvale is just yeah, it shined a light on a subject that, at a time where it was so much police brutality and violence and murders that were going on. And it's always been going on, but getting into this, this digital era where people have phones, and that can record in real time and be able to put those out into the masses. One of those more viral moments that got caught on film that really shifted and started a conversation, even more, across the world. Even this is a story from Oakland, you know what I'm saying, that traveled around the world and made it and pushed, for change. It did its part and adding to the momentum of change when it comes to those things. And we still got a long way to go, but that was a pretty big starting point for me. Up next, Phantom Threat.
Go and take the dress off her and bring it to me right away.
I don't think so.
Take the fucking dress off, Barbara, and bring it to me or I'll do it myself.
I beg your pardon?
Alma.
This is great. Yeah, this scene was great. Oh man. Now I love this movie. Daniel Day-Lewis is incredible, and the cinematography was just in the storytelling, and just his character who was obsessed with what he did to a T, and loved his craft and his routine, and allowed someone to come into that process and how that influenced his creativity and in certain ways, and him as a person. Just the attention to detail throughout this movie I thought was incredible. In that particular scene, he was so prideful in his work and who wore his clothes and why he made, the garments and the dresses that he did. And you've never seen that character become so rebellious, I guess, or kind of like, go outside the box and be a little bit extreme in a way. It read beautifully, and the movie has so many, funny moments that maybe aren't supposed to be funny, but they're human and they're pretty funny. There's just a confidence in speech and beyond his eyes that, you just can't help but watch. I can tell Daniel's a very technical actor. Knowing where the camera is, I'm sure he knows what lenses they're shooting on, size of the lenses that can inform, his blocking, his movement in some ways. And right now I'm filming a heist movie. So the details and the inserts and what you tell the audience to pay attention to is so crucial, important in those genres. And in this movie, like making a dress and sewing and very meticulous with all the details, even down to the cooking and the, the foraging and phantom thread of the mushrooms and of the other ingredients. It was just, everything was beautiful. This is a movie that I feel like is a visual masterpiece, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's Princess Mononoke.
He's dying.
English dub. No!
Tell
Say
me while
that,
you're still
joking.
alive.
I didn't want them to kill you. That's why. I'm not afraid to die. I'd do anything to get you humans out of my forest.
I knew that from the first moment I saw you.
And I'm not afraid of you. I should kill you for saving her.
Got that poster.
That woman is evil, and there's no one who can stop me from killing her.
No. Live.
That's enough! I'm not listening to you anymore.
But you won't kill him.
Beautiful.
What is it, son? Want me to crunch his face off?
That movie's great. Where do I start? Visually, the colors, throughout this movie is incredible. The way they capture water and light, the sun, tattered through the leaves of the canopy of the jungle, and the forest is truly special. Every time I watch it, I wish I have to experience a place like this. Down to the movement of the smoke and the flames in this movie is beautiful. Yeah, the character design is great. Every time it's on, I watch it. I recently saw it in IMAX out here, in London, and it was incredible. It was like, you sitting there watching this, trying to watch the whole, trying to capture everything and up on screen. With all the global warming and how we treat the earth and the environment and Mother Nature and us as humans and trying to take care of the planet. And so it kind of hits on a lot of themes that I always find important. There's not always an English translation for Japanese vocabulary. So you're never going to quite get an English translation that feels the same. It's almost like I'd much rather hear the Japanese emotion from the voice acting and read English subtitles that you can put that same audible emotion over. I think bridges the gap a bit more, and I'm not sure that all productions take that consideration. So for me, I personally just rather read the subtitles and listen. The first time I saw Princess Mononoke, I was probably maybe 12, 13, something like that. I just got into anime around that time because my best friend at the time, his older brother, and his friends had access to all the, Kung Fu movies and the bootleg DVDs that we would get at the mall in Jersey, and you had to go find, these foreign films and anime, and then, like Dragon Ball and things like that, and Akira and all these, hidden films and stuff. You're like, oh, wow. And so that kind of got me turned on to anime, and this was one of those movies that were kind of swiped from his house growing up. And just been in love with those films and all the Studio Ghibli movies and all that good stuff. I see my guy, you know what I'm saying? I see my guy right here, man. As soon as I see this, I think of my my friend Chadwick Boseman. Forever remind me of him and the time we had a chance to finally work together. See the Creed gloves in the back. Those, if I'm not, at first glance, they remind me of this, probably Creed's first fight against Spirino's gym. He had the black and white trunks, and he was still going by Johnson. See the coffins and the vampire, you know what I'm saying, in the back. My most challenging role, by far, to date, Smoke and Stack. Yeah, that was our first time press tour, I guess, but premiere in Fruitvale and all the craziness at Park City that we were going through. And man, we were kids. Man. Yeah, feels like yesterday, feels like yesterday.
What is the one film, TV show, or video game that you recommend everyone should watch or play at least once in their lifetime?
It's gotta be NBA 2K. You gotta play it at least once. My career, my player mode is incredible. As an athlete, somebody who's, a kid at one point in your life, had aspirations to try to go be a pro athlete, whether that, fell short tremendously. but you get a chance to, live out your dreams for a little bit and, you're competitive, you get a chance to play with, your friends and stuff like that. So yeah, I say NBA 2K, I'm gonna go.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, bro. Thank you, guys.